From KPRC2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
Starting in 1866, Texas African Americans celebrated June 19th as the date they officially received notification that the Emancipation Proclamation declared them to be free. That set off celebrations and, for many, a trek north toward Houston and other points in Texas to establish their own communities and to try to live as free people. But there was so much more than just a simple declaration of freedom. Here this morning to talk about how Juneteenth came about and the impacts then and now, Edward Cottom Jr., author of Juneteenth, the story behind the celebration, and Sam Collins III, local historian about Juneteenth and a leading voice about Galveston and the Juneteenth Legacy Project. Good morning to both of you now. I want to start off, by the way, thank you in advance for doing Newsmakers Extra with me. We're going to talk for a few minutes here, and then we'll go for Extra on click2houston.com. Those of you who've been here, you know what that's all about. And talk about your book and why you decided to write this book.
Well, Cambrell, I discovered over many, many years that people knew a lot about Juneteenth. They thought they really didn't know about Juneteenth. They'd heard of it. It was becoming a famous thing, but they really didn't know the backstory, how it came to be, what happened, and really even basically what happened in Galveston on June 19, 1865.
So how does an economist and lawyer end up being so involved in this, in history? Because you've written other books and other things about Texas history. How do you get so enamored with this? Well,
my background, as you say, is in economics and law, and my avocational interest is in military history. And Juneteenth is this kind of strange thing. It's sort of at the intersection of all of those things. It's a general that does it, has enormous economic consequences, and it's all triggered, of course, by Abraham Lincoln's actions on the Emancipation Proclamation in Washington. So in some ways, I had kind of the perfect background to study this particular subject.
Sam, you spent a lot of your adult life studying. By the way, you're also a different avocation. You do other things, make a living, but this is what your heart is. You've done a lot of things studying the history of Galveston and this area of Texas. Talk about what's going on now. Most recently, you've got a mural in Galveston, and this is a fascinating mural there that depicts Juneteenth. This received a lot of attention about what happened back in 1865 and the Juneteenth Legacy Project. So what's that all about, and what are you most trying to achieve with this mural and with the project?
Yeah, I am the co-chair of the Juneteenth Legacy Project along with Ms. Sheridan Lorenz. We formed the Juneteenth Legacy Project to expand the narrative around the story of Juneteenth and this Galveston history. So the new Absolute Equality mural at the southwest corner of 22nd and Strand is helping us to create an outdoor classroom where we will teach this history. So individuals, of course, can see the mural visually, but they'll also be able to use some augmented reality to use their smartphones to point at the mural to learn the history.
And I thought that's amazing. You can actually take your phone, point it at the mural, and it will bring up a video giving you more history about that.
Yes, sir. A young man, Danny Asbury L., with the company Soel International, was contracted with Mr. Adams to bring this technology to Galveston.
When you talk about Juneteenth to people all around, what are they most surprised to hear?
Well, I think this year what many individuals are surprised to hear is that there were United States colored troops that were with Granger in Texas prior to June 19th and that day on June 19th. Newspaper reports say that Galveston is now occupied by colored troops from July of 1865.
So you mentioned Granger, talking about General Granger, who was the general behind the general orders that were declared there. Ed, as you wrote in the story behind the celebration, there's so much you provided context, everything that led up to Juneteenth. Why was that important for you to be able to provide all that context leading up to the actual declaration there by General Granger?
Well, because every year we get the reports in the newspaper that General Granger arrived in Galveston and read this order to an assembled crowd. And the basic fact is that we have no evidence at all that General Granger read General Orders Number 3, the Juneteenth order, to anybody. And in fact, the backstory is that most of the Juneteenth order had actually been written by General Phil Sheridan over in New Orleans, and he had told General Granger what to issue when he got to Galveston. In addition, the one part that General Sheridan didn't actually give to General Granger, we think was written by an adjutant, basically a staff officer for General Granger, who was a passionate abolitionist and had been a Kansas newspaper editor and a member of a company that was in a Kansas cavalry regiment, and his captain was John Brown Jr., basically the son of the famous martyr.
Yeah.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
that's why I've been reading this book, and I just got kept pick it up or put it down and pick it up and put it down. A lot is in there that we enjoy, and I think you'll enjoy it as well. Sam, the reality is once that order was read, it took a while for the word to travel and for people to understand what was going on. Even though they moved up and they started to celebrate, it wasn't like an immediate thing. We're so used to today, we get the word travels fast. Yeah. So it took a little while for the word to get up north.
Yeah, there was no Facebook or Instagram or Twitter in 1865. So we'd like to think that people just drop their tools and start celebrating and moving around freely, but that's not what happened in 1865. It was much more complicated than that. And I always say that Juneteenth is an evolution of our country to a more perfect union. So while it was not perfect in 1865, it was one step to get us closer to that absolute equality that Ed is talking about in that language of General Order Number 3. Major Frederick Emory is the one that included that wording, absolute equality.
So we're going to talk more about that, including about General Granger, who we hear an awful lot about, and in everything we talk about Juneteenth, about his orders and whatnot, why he got a lot more credit than probably he deserves. We're going to do more conversation. Join us on Newsmakers Extra. You can do that on the Newsmakers page. Click to Houston.com for more of our discussion about Juneteenth, including how long it has taken for the effects of slavery to wear off. Several generations of African Americans, what everyone can learn from that early Texas history. We'll talk about that. Thank you guys for sticking around for that.